You know, the more I make this video, the more I realize I just can't form sentences, and it's really bugging me. Here goes nothing. Hi. So for today's video, I'm gonna be explaining to you how I made this dress right here. So basically, I don't like floral anything. Floral patterns, it's just not my thing. And then my mom decided to just, you know, send me a huge bag of floral fabric. And you know what? I feel challenged into maybe trying to like floral pattern. I don't know. I decided that I would make a dress that, you know, like silhouette wise, everything else wise, I would totally wear, but just in floral. Let's just get started. This is how I made this dress right here. Look at how long that list of like steps, and that's just how I made the pattern. So let me just move a little to the side. I always start all my sewing videos with patterns. First things first, we need to figure out the top section of the dress. We're gonna take the masters for our top, and then I measure out from the bust point where I want the top of the dress to sit. So basically I took around like 3 inches from the bust point all the way up, so it'll like cover me up perfectly. And then I just measure it down to my waist because I wanted to stop at my waist, because I feel like for me, dresses flatter me the most when it hits my waist. So you guys can tell from like the shape of the dress, there's like this section on the waist away from the bust, like this much. So I just measure that out. I make it around like 3.5 inches. Well, is it wide or is it long? It's wide. It's wide, yeah. 3.5 inches wide. So we got all that down. So we basically have like 2 sections. Well, 3 if you count the top, but we're not gonna use that. And now to like have like the scrunch up type of moment in the front, we want to add some more length to the top of the dress so that it'll like scrunch up nicely. So I just add on like 2.5 inches from the middle of the top pattern. On the dress, I do not want any darts whatsoever, front, back, no darts, no nothing, because I feel like it's already like a little much with like all this bunching up, all this scrunching up. That I feel like if I added a dart, it'll just not look right. You want to just, you know, get rid of it by gluing it on the pattern instead of, you know, sewing it on the fabric, if that makes any sense. Then we're gonna cut this section from 1 pattern. It's now gonna be 2 pattern. And that's basically how I made the front. Now for the back part of the top, again, I trace the masters. I just measure out the side so that when I sew it, it'll like perfectly align. Like, I always make the front first, and then like the back, I'll just like match it up like measurement wise and shape wise, so that it'll be like easier, because I'm not gonna put like anything special on the back, so it's the focus gonna be like right in the front. But we want to make the dart a little higher up, like really close to the top part of the dress, because I don't want to make any more room, because there's not going to be anything, and it's just going to be like bulging out, and it's just not going to be cute. Cut it out, glue down the dart, and then just cut the section. Now we want to make the skirt portion of the dress, because it's not going to be a dress unless there's a skirt portion. You know, logic. Again, we want to trace out the masters front and back. Basically, we're just doing the same thing to the front and the same thing to the back, so I thought I'll just, you know, explain it in this one clip. So again, first things first, we're going to trace out the masters, of course, and then we're going to determine how long we want the skirt to be. For me, I measure it out from my waist, because again, that's where the top part of the dress stops and where the skirt portion of the dress starts. And then we want to draw a line from the waist, because the waist is the biggest part of the skirt basically, especially when your masters is an H-line skirt. So we're gonna like draw a line from the waist line of the skirt, like in like a 45-degree angle, so like just like straight out to make it into like an A-line shape And this is a little bit bigger than a regular A-line skirt, because if you wanted to make just like a regular A-line, you would just add a few inches at the bottom and then draw it from like the waist there. And then of course we have the dart, right? The dart at the waist. I just drew a line from the point of the dart all the way down, just like a regular straight line.
So I forgot to tell you that I also added some width to the skirt to match up with the waist of the front and to scrunch up in the back so that it doesn't look too awkward, you know? Okay, thanks.
I just cut out the skirt, dart lines or anything on the actual dress. I stick on the pattern together.
Alright, so I don't know what that was. Had a little brain fart. But basically what I'm saying is I stick the dart on the pattern paper. That's it. Thank you.
And then the line that we made at the bottom of the dart, we're just gonna cut that so it'll like form like this swoop shape, and it'll make like basically the bottom of the skirt a little bit more A-liney. So basically this is a full quarter circle skirt. That is it for the pattern. First things first, before we actually assemble the clothing, we want to have all the pieces ready. We gotta make the straps for the top part of the dress, and also the straps for us to, like, you know, tie at the front, this bit. Basically the scrunch media. I know I want it to be like around 1/2 inch wide, so I double that, and then we're gonna add about 1/4 inch at the top, 1/4 inch at the bottom, so it'll be easier to sew.
I forgot to say that I also add some seam allowance at like the end of the length of the strap, so like 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch because seam allowance.
So I make the straps for the top around 13 inches because that's usually how I make them, so we can like adjust them later on. And then I make the top part of the dress like 10 inches because I measure every single like section out.
Hi, I'm back again. So what I'm trying to say is I basically make a pair of straps for the actual straps, and then I make like a 10-inch strap for the upper part, and then 2 pairs of the 15-inch strap. The 15-inch straps for the bust and the waistline. Yeah, that's all I did. And I spent like 15 minutes trying to explain that. Jeez.
Now for the channels, I measure out the length I need it to be. Cut that in half so it'll have like a space to, like, you know, go through at the front. Basically, I just cut that in half of the length of how it's supposed to be all around. The seam allowance is 1/2 inch, but just for the channels and the straps, I make the top and bottom seam allowance a 1/4 inch. The actual sewing part, first things first, we wanna assemble the front part because that's where it's gonna be complicated with like all the channels and everything. So basically,
I can't believe I'm back again, but I just want to say that if I say stuff about lining, that's it. I forgot to tell you that I also made linings.
for the top part, I want it to be like a clean type of seam.
Hi, I was revising the video. I kind of feel like I didn't explain the top part of the dress properly, so I'm gonna do it through my photo booth, and I hope that's okay. What I did was I sew in the straps into the front side of the floral fabric and then have the straps like going down, so like the seam allowance meet at the top, and then I sew in the side string lining up the seam allowance for that, and then I put in the channel right on top of that, so it's right side up of the floral fabric with the right side up of the channel facing up, and then I sew in the top of that, get the string out of the way. I put the little channel down, double stitch it so it's like a little bit below the actual stitching because aesthetics, I guess. And then I fold the bottom part of the channel. I stitch that as close as possible to the fold. We unpin the string and then put it into the channel with a safety pin. Sew in the linings, but making sure that I did not hit the string that's already inside of the channel. If I could change one thing about this whole process, is probably I would sew in the lining thing before I put in the strings into the channel, but I guess this way works too. Just be a little bit careful on that part. And then we just flip it. Okay, that's it.
So it'll look a little something like this. And then I assemble the waist section and then the skirt section. Again, just doubling up the lining. There's nothing special in there. We're gonna sew in the channel. So it's basically the same thing, but we're gonna sew in the straps first. And then I take the channel, I fold over the top and then just like sew a straight stitch as close as possible to that fold, and then also do the same thing at the bottom. And I take the straps, I attach a little safety pin, and then I just pull the straps through the channel. And that's basically how I assemble the front part. You do the same thing to the back. So like I just take the straps, basically do the same thing. So I put the floral fabric, the straps, making sure that it's right side up, like nothing's flipped or whatever, and sandwich it with the lining right side down. So it's like a little sandwich. Sew it in from the armhole all the way to the top, the other armhole, flip it over. Finally, the same thing at the bottom, waist section, skirt section, double it up with the lining, sew that in, and then we have the back. Now all we need to do is just attach the sides. So that's what I did. I lined them up, I sewed them together without the lining. And then finally I took the lining down and then sewed the sides of the lining separately. And that is it. That's how I made the dress. Again, I'm still not a fan of the floral. I like the shape of the dress. I would wear the dress if it's just a different pattern or a different color. So now my sister has a new dress, and yeah, I only got like around 3 minutes worth of memory left, so I'm gonna stop right here. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying. That's it for me today. Go like, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. And I'll see you guys in a few days.